We continue now at the top of Daf Samech Aleph and Mesechet Sanhedrin. This is Sanhedrin Daf 69a. The Gemara is in the middle of bringing the opinion of Rabbah that a katan, a boy who is a minor, is not able to father children. Rabbah is talking about the pasuk which says V'im ein lo ish goel, that if the person has no redeemer, meaning to say he has no relatives, and the Gemara explained on the previous summit that that's referring to a ger, that's referring to a convert, so it's possible that he has no relatives. And now Rabbah continues and says V'yomer Achman, and the pasuk says ish. It says in the pasuk the word ish, that he's a man, that he's an adult, and we understand that to mean isha tatzarech lachzor olav im yesh lo goalin v'im lav. If he is a man, if he's an adult, then you have to see whether he has redeemers or not. It's possible that he has relatives because he might have fathered children. But katan, but when we're talking about a minor, iya tatzarech lachzor olav, you don't have to pursue to see if he has relatives, because biyadua she'ein lo goalin, it is known that he has no relatives because he's not able to have children. Again, that's Rabbah's opinion, that a katan, a boy who's a minor, is not able to have children. Rashi explains, V'yomer Achmana ish v'lo ksiv ivim ein lo goel. It says ish, it says the word man. It doesn't just say that he doesn't have a redeemer. It uses the word ish. My time ksiv ish. Why does it say the word ish? Elamisham dechsiv v'im. The reason is because it says v'im, that if demashma pa'amim sheyesh lo yarshim. It sounds like there are times when he might have heirs. U'lahach ksiv ish. That's why it says man. L'lamedcha ishu de'ikol l'sefuke shema yolid bonim mishen eskayer. By a man, there's a doubt. Maybe he had children after he converted. And therefore you can't take away that principle that is owed. Again, the case over here in the pasuk is somebody stole, now has to return that principal amount. You can't say that there's no one to give it to and it should be given to the Kohen, unless you know for sure there are no heirs. But let's say you're talking about a minor that's a convert. So in a case over there, if it was stolen from that minor who was a convert, and again there was a false shvua, that's what the pasuk is talking about, so then it's going to go to the Kohen if that ger katan is no longer alive, biyadua she'ein lo goalim, because it's known that there are no redeemers. And the Gemara continues, Eisvei Abaya asks a question from the following Brisa. The Brisa is bringing the pasuk by Shifcha Charufa, that's a Shifcha that's designated to one man and then has relations with another man. So it says in the pasuk ish, it says in the pasuk a man, we're talking about an adult. And so the Brisa says, Ein li ela ish, I only know that this applies to a man, to an adult. Ben tes shonim v'yom echad, what if he's 9 years old in a day? Sharoi labia, he's fit to have an act of relations. Minayin, from where do we know to include him as well? Talmud lomar v'ish, the pasuk says v'ish with a vav. And so you see from this pasuk that a 9-year-old is able to have an act of relations. And the Gemara continues, Amar lei, so Rabbah said back to Abai, it's not a proof, because yeshlo, he has the ability to have relations. However, ve'eno molid, he's still not able to father children. Kitzvua shelo hevia shlish dami would be similar to grain that has not grown to a third of its growth. Rashi explains, ish gabe shifcha charufa ksiv. Again, this word ish is written by shifcha charufa. V'ish ki yishka v'sisha shechva zeret, as a man is with the woman, a man has relations with the woman. We'll see the full pasuk over here. V'ish ki yishka v'sisha shechva zera v'hi shivcha nacharefes liish. Again, the man is with the woman, but this woman is designated to another man. She's a shivcha, she's a maidservant, and again it says v'ish, it says it with a vav, to include even if he's able to have an act of relations, even if he's 9 years old and a day. And the Gemara continues, Devei Chizkiya taught in the yeshiva of Chizkiya, it was taught, V'chi yazid ish, it says V'chi yazid ish, the full pasuk says V'chi yazid ish al reyeyu lahargo biarmo, we're talking here about murder, Me'im mizbechi tikachanu lamos, you take him even from the mizbeach lamos to die. Rashi says, V'chi yazid mida'afke b'lashon mezid, from the fact that we're using a lashon of mezid, V'chi yazid, a language of on purpose, V'lo kasav V'chi yarshia ish, it doesn't say that the person is wicked, L'meimar derush bei nami hai mezid mevashel, we're making a drasha here that we're darshaning the word mezid. The mezid can also mean like mevashel, it can mean like cooking. And so we darshan as follows, again, V'chi yazid ish, we darshan as follows, ish mezid umazriya. It means a man can burn, so to speak, and he's able, when he has relations, he's able to father a child. Ve'ein katan mezid umazriya, but that's not true by a katan, and so therefore it seems, according to the Talmud of Chizkiya, it seems that a katan, a minor, is not able to father a child. But the Gemara continues, Amar le Rav Mordechai le Rav Ashi, Rav Mordechai says to Rav Ashi, my mashma, the hai mezid lishna de beshulehu. How does it imply that the word mezid is a language of cooking? We find that in other contexts, Vayazid Yaakov Nazir, it says Vayazid Yaakov Nazir, and that's also talking about preparing food. food. So you see that the language of vayazid, you see the language of v'chiyazid can refer to cooking. And the Gemara continues, Vatana devei Rabbi Yishmael, but wasn't it taught in the yeshiva of Rabbi Yishmael, ben v'loav, it says a son and not a father. Rashi explains, ben v'loav, legave ben sorah mora. This is by ben sorah mora, ben v'loav. So we talk about a ben sorah mora, but he can't be a father. Right now what we think is, we're talking here about a son who had a son. The shuv, eino nasa ben sorah mora, that he's not able to be a ben sorah mora. Now if it's not possible for a minor to have a child, how would it ever even occur that we would exclude it? The implication over here is that a child actually is able to father a child. Otherwise, you don't need the drush of ben v'loav. As the Gemara now continues, what exactly is this case where we're excluding an av? If you're going to say that the situation is that he impregnated a woman and that was after he had 2 hairs of maturity, so he was an adult, violid, and then the baby was born mekame delak of zakan, before it was surrounded, before the area of the genitals was surrounded by a beard. Again, as our Mishnah said, there's that small window of time where we say that a ben sorah mora can be held liable as a ben sorah mora, but that's not possible. Mi'ika shows kuli hai. Is there really enough time in such a situation? That's not a lot of time that the child would be born. V'yamar Rav Krus Bedoy, but Rav Krus Bedoy said, Kol yamav shel ben sorah mora, all of the days of that window of time when a person can be a ben sorah mora, gimel chadashim b'lvad, it's just 3 months, so it would be impossible that he would have impregnated the woman when he was an adult and the child would be born in that short a period of time. So that can't be what we're excluding. Elalav, rather is it not? You have to say, what does the pasuk mean? Di'aver mikame delaisi shtei saros. Apparently, the woman became pregnant before he brought forth the 2 hairs of maturity. Violid mikame delek of zakan, and then again, the child was born before already the hair filled the entire area of the aver, and that's why he was in that time when he can be held liable as a ben sorah mora. Ushmamina katan molid, and then we would see from here, again from the fact that Tana Devrei Yishmael said ben v'loav, it seems to show that a katan, a minor, is able to father children. And the Gemara says, lo no, liolam di'aver basar da'isi shtei saros. What actually happened was that the woman became pregnant from this boy after he already had the 2 hairs of maturity, so he was technically an adult. Violid basar da'akif zaken, and actually what happened was the child was born after that window had passed, after already there was hair by the area of the aver. Udekakasha de Reb Krus Bedoy, and your question is that Reb Krus Bedoy said it's too short a window of time. The whole amount of time is just 3 months. It's not possible. Kiyasa Rav Dimi Amar Amri b'Ma'arava. When Rav Dimi came, he said that they say in the West, Ben v'lo haroi l'karoso av. What it really means is it's a son and not one who is fit to call him a father, meaning to say the child doesn't actually have to be born. As long as he has fathered, so to speak, potential children, he caused a woman to become pregnant, that is sufficient. There we would say that is sufficient to say that he's considered roi l'karoso av, and there's no din of ben sorah mora by such a boy. And Rashi explains, Elaki Yasser Rav Dimi, rather when Rav Dimi came, Pershal the Tana Devrei Yishmael, he explained the Tana Devrei Yishmael again that learns out Ben V'loav, Diyasal Lashmin on Hai Rabbi Krus Bedoy is actually teaching us the exact same halacha that Rabbi Krus Bedoy was saying. Demisha Avru Olav Gimel Chadashim, that once 3 months pass, La'achar Shevi Shtei Saros, after the boy has the 2 hairs of maturity, once those 3 months pass, Pater, he's no longer liable as a Ben Sorah Mora. V'achi Kamar, and this is actually what we were saying. Ben, it means to say it's a son, v'lo haroi liosav, but once he's at the point where he's fit to be a father, v'hainu la'achar gimel chadashim, and that would be after 3 months, achar shevi saros, that's 3 months after he has those hairs of maturity. Why is that the time period? Sharoi liosa uber nikr, because at that point in time, we can see in theory that the woman is pregnant. 3 months later, you can notice the pregnancy. If you would have relations with a woman from the point in time that he had the 2 hairs of maturity and she became pregnant at that point in time, and so that's really what we were saying. We're saying that the window is only 3 months. Once he has those hairs of maturity, so then it's just 3 months. At that point in time, it is fit to say that in theory he could have impregnated a woman and we'd be able to see that she was pregnant, and so at that point in time that window has passed and he can no longer be held liable as a Ben Sorah Mora. And the Gemara continues, Gufa, returning to what we said above. Amar Rav Kruspedoy, Amar Rav Shabzi. Rav Kruspedoy said that Rav Shabzi said, Kol Yomov Shel Ben Sorah Mora Einon Ela Gimel Chadashim Belvad. Again, the entire time span for the liability of a Ben Sorah Mora is just 3 months. And the Gemara now says, V'anon Tanan, but didn't we learn in our Mishnah, Misha Yavish Te Saros, that it's from the point in time he has the 2 hairs of maturity, V'ad Sheyakiv Zagon, until that area is surrounded by hair. So therefore it seems to be that it doesn't go by 3 months. We actually go by whether it's Yakiv Zaken or not. And the Gemara explains, Hikiv Zaken Afagav Delo Molo Gimel Chadashim, both are true. If it's filled with hair, even though it hasn't been 3 months, then the time is no longer. And also the other way around, Molo Gimel Chadashim Afagav Delo Hikif, if 3 months go by, but it's not hikif, it's not surrounded by hair, then also we say that the time has passed. And the Gemara continues, Yosef Rabbi Yaakov Minahar Pekod Kamei de Ravina. Rabbi Yaakov from the Har Pekod was sitting in front of Ravina. V'Yosef v'Kamra Mishvei de Rav Huna Breid Rav Yoshua. He was sitting and he was saying, in the name of Rav Huna Breid Rav Yoshua, Shma Minami de Rabbi Kruspedoy. We see from Rabbi Kruspedoy, Amar Rav Shavdi. We see from Rabbi Kruspedoy, Amar Rav Shavdi, that Yoledes l'Shiva. That let's say you have a woman who gives birth after 7 months. In most situations, women are going to give birth after 9 months. But let's say you have a situation where she gives birth after 7 months, where we say that the child could be viable in such a situation. But you see, Ein Ubra Nikor l'Shlish Yameh. You see that the fetus is not recognizable after 1/3 of that pregnancy. Meaning, even in that situation, it's actually still going to only be a recognizable pregnancy after 3 months. You might have thought that if it's a shorter pregnancy, so then you'll recognize the pregnancy earlier. But you see, that's not the case. Why? Because if it should enter your mind that you could tell that she's pregnant at 1/3 of the amount of time from when the birth is going to take place, meaning less than 3 months, so Lamali Gimel. So what do you need to wait 3 months for? Because it's actually theoretically possible that he impregnated a woman and it would be recognizable. Betreyu til sasagi. It should be enough with 2 1/3. At that point in time, maybe it's already recognizable. You could have some situations like that, and therefore already at that point in time, we should say that the time has passed in terms of the ability to say that he's liable as a ben Sorah Mora. But the Gemara continues, Amarle he said back to him, really I'll say to you, Ubra Nikor Lishlish Yameh. It's possible not. It's possible that you can recognize the pregnancy at 1/3, and therefore it could even be earlier in some situations. However, Zil Basaruba, you follow the majority. In the majority of situations, it takes 3 months, and therefore we follow 3 months. And the Gemara continues, Amrua Kamei de Rav Huna Breid Rav Yoshua. Now they said this in front of Rav Huna Breid Rav Yoshua. Amar Le, he said back to him, Uvedine nefashos miazlinan basaruba, but by a situation of capital punishment, we're going to follow majority. Meaning in this situation, if you're going to say 3 months based on rove, that means we could potentially put someone to death, even though had we not followed rove, really it's possible the pregnancy would have been recognizable earlier. Apparently we're following majority when it comes to capital cases. HaTorah Amar, doesn't the Torah say, V'shaftu ha'edah that we're trying to save the person? We always try to judge it in a fashion where we save the person from the death penalty. V'yata amrit zil basaruba, and you're saying we should follow majority over here. Does that really make sense? But the Gemara continues, Hadrua Kamei de Ravina. They brought this in front of Ravina, Amar Le, and he said, Uvedine nefashos lo azlinan basaruba. But is it true the other way? By dina nefashos, you think we don't follow majority? It's not true. We actually do follow majority when it comes to dina nefashos. That's what Ravina said to him. Because vatanan, because we learned in the Mishnah, Echad omer b'shnayim b'chodesh. Let's say you have 2 witnesses in a situation of a capital case. One says it happened on the 2nd of the month. V'echad omer b'gimel. One says it happened on the 3rd of the month. A dusan kayemis. We say that we accept that testimony. Shezeh maybe this one knew about the leap month and the other one didn't. Maybe their testimony was actually good. And so he says, now if we don't follow majority, apparently we're following majority over here, that it's very possible many people, they get confused with how long the month actually was. If you say we don't follow majority and we're always trying to make the person innocent, so Neimahani Dafka Kamisadi, we should say actually they're testifying accurately, and they're actually contradicting one another. We should try to save the person. But rather, is it not that we say we follow majority? And it's common for the majority of people to make sense in terms of whether the month was a leap month or not. And the Gemara continues, Rabbi Yirmiyah from Difti said, we learned the same same thing in the following halacha. It says, Bas shalosh shanim v'yom echad. Let's say a girl is 3 years old in a day. Miskadeshes bebi. At that point in time, if she has relations, that can be a kedushin. V'im ba'alei yavam kana. Let's say she has relations with the brother-in-law by yibam. That would be an acquisition. That would be yibam. V'chayavin oleh misham eshes ish. She's considered a married woman as far as adultery is concerned. U'metami es bo'alo l'tami mishkav hatachton ke'elyon. She can also, let's say she's tamei like Anida. The person she has relations with is going to get that tumah to be able to be matami things that are lying underneath him, just like those above. And nisis lekohen, if she marries a kohen, or chelis betruma, she's able to eat truma. Again, the point is that this is a real act of relations. Ba'alel echad min hapsulin, if somebody who disqualifies her from the kahuna has relations with her, pasla min kahuna, that can disqualify her from the kahuna. V'im ba'alel echad michol ha'arayos amuris b'torah, if any of the arayos in the Torah have relations with her, mummasan oleh, they can be put to death because of it. That can be considered an act of arayos. V'hi patura, but she'll be exempt because she is a minor. And we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Samech Tes Amud Beis.